Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome. My name is Lee Newman. I'm the Dean of IE Business School. And on behalf of IE University, IE Business School, I want to welcome you to IE, to this tower, for those of you who have never been to the IE Tower before. And, most importantly, the reason you're here, welcome you to the Martech Summit. It's a pleasure to have all of you, and thank you for coming. I'm just going to say a few words, and I'm going to turn things over to our esteemed MC, Brian Hallett. But let me just give you a little bit of context here. So from the IE perspective, 10 years ago, roughly speaking, we decided to make a bet. Business schools in the world all have marketing, obviously. That's a big part of what business is about. But we decided to kind of go into a bigger and broader territory with marketing, and we made some bets. So we said, listen, it's not just about marketing. Communications has got to be a big part of this. And so we added a huge element of communications to the way we think about it. And we said, look, business schools, oddly enough, have really never been a super welcoming home to the creative worlds, right? Creatives don't generally think of, I want to go to business school. We said, that's got to change because, the need for creative people, for designers and other creatives in business is huge. So we decided to make a bet there. We also said, look, this thing called customer experience is coming. This is a while ago now. This is before we were talking about it. Everybody knows what CX is now, right, in UX, but then they didn't. And we decided that's got to be an important part of this as well. And what about market research and consumer insights? Very few schools in the world were actually offering programs in that. So we made a big bet, and on tech, of course, which I'll get to in a second. But so we made a big bet on that, and we created a portfolio of programs that have now grown to become arguably, and I'm of course very biased on this, but arguably the best, most rich, diverse portfolio of marketing, branding, communication, sales, this whole commercial world of programs in the world. And some good news to share with you. We decided last year to put our programs into the rankings, which was always an interesting business. But we decided to do that, and we just found out a few weeks ago that in the QS rankings for marketing master's degrees, we came out with our debut at number 3 in the world. So we're super proud of that, and congratulations to all of our team who's been involved in that, because that's truly amazing. And so I think we really have made a major commitment to this general space of, let's call it the commercial, exciting, high energy front office of business, right? The top line of business is what we do here. So we've made this big commitment, and so we're super happy to have you here today for this event, which is an example of kind of what we do in this space. Now, in particular, I'll have to mention a few things about Martech. That is what we're doing here today. Just anecdotally, things have changed a lot, I would say, in 1 year. And I call it the chat GPT effect. But 2 years ago, as the dean of a business school, when we try to push more tech into like an MBA program or a master's in management or in any program at the business school, we had a lot of resistance. Too much tech, don't give me all this tech, I want to be a techie, et cetera, et cetera. And now it's like the opposite. Now, our students are screaming for more AI. I need to think about how to use these tools to automate anything I do, whether it's creating, creative materials, production, strategic, whether it's, looking at performance analytics. Our students want it now, which is amazing, and we're very happy that the ChatGPT has helped us move the world of tech, let's say, into the foreground, which it's never really been before. So we're very excited about that. So the topic for today is going to be Martech. And I'd like in advance to thank all the people from outside IE who have come here to help us today, which includes Leticia, where are you? Here. Kike. Kike's not here yet, but coming. Christina, Diego, Simon, and Barbara. Where's Barbara? There's Barbara, thank you. And also our esteemed Professor Pedro, who's going to be moderating the panel. Where's Pedro? There he is. Okay, so thanks very much to our panelists and our speakers who have graciously given us the time to be here today. So we're going to touch on a lot of topics. Brian's going to share more about this, but we're going to hit AI, we're going to hit Web3, visualization, analytics, We're going to talk a little bit about privacy and ethics, I suspect. So let's see if we get there. But I suspect that really important thing, and also careers and jobs, and where the future of this exciting crossroads of marketing and technology is going. So with no further ado, thank you very much for being here. And Brian, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here to the IE community. We're also being joined from people around the world who are joining us live streaming for this event. So I just want to welcome you, and I really want to thank, in particular, the marketing department, Carla Semzo, for putting her weight into this project, and to launch us into this discussion. And of course, as Lee mentioned, I don't need to repeat this, but thank you so much to the speakers. We have a really amazing group of speakers, a remarkable group of speakers who are with us tonight. I'll share with you in just a moment who those are going to be. Lee was talking about the pace of change, and I think we're all tired of hearing this. It sounds kind of cliche at this point to talk about the pace of change, but the fact of the matter is that we are changing at an incredible rate. I was looking through some interesting data that IBM had put together that says that basically between about 5000 BC until about the 1st century, the amount of human knowledge and information doubled every 1,000 years, every millennia, right? And then from that point to about 1900, human knowledge and information doubled about every 100 years, right? Then from 1900 to about 1945, it sped up, and it doubled at about every 10 years or so. The most recent estimates are that the amount of collective knowledge and information that human beings have access to is now doubling every 12 hours, which is, I think, just a remarkable thought. And it actually occurred to me when I read that no wonder we need AI, because it's way beyond our capacity to handle so much information and so much data. So I've been a professor now at IE, and honored to be a professor at IE for the last 12 years. And in that time, of course, everything has changed, right? In fact, it feels almost like it changes every week. And I think what we're looking at tonight is what we call Martech, marketing and technology. So as a storyteller, Lee was talking about the creatives in the world, and as a storyteller, I think that marketing is really about winning hearts and minds, right? That's what we try to do. And technology is essentially the tools that we have to achieve that. I think it raises an interesting question, which is that universities, theoretically, the purpose of a university is to prepare students for the future, right? Well, how do you prepare students for the future when the present is in constant change? And so I would propose to you that there are 3 things that we need to do as a university. In fact, I wouldn't propose that we need to do them. I think that this is exactly what IE University does. First of all, IE is in constant change. And I've worked in many different organizations, and I find it just remarkable to be in an organization that is able to adapt and change with such flexibility and grace and daring as this university. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing we need to do is we need to prepare students for constant change, which essentially it essentially turns students into lifelong learners, right? We have to prepare them for that. But I think the third thing, and I think the reason that we're here tonight, is because we also need to become the agents of change. In other words, we need to participate rather than just reflect what is happening in society and culture, economies. We need to actually become active participants in the discussion. And that's exactly what brings us here tonight, right? So we know that Martech is driven by automation, by streamlining, by optimization of marketing efforts. And as Lee mentioned, there's this long list. We could go on and on, the list of technology. But what's fascinating is that there's a confluence of technology. And that's what I find so exciting. It's not any individual thing that's happening. It's not just AI or not just spatial computing, but it's AI, robotics, predictive analytics, spatial computing, extended reality, blockchain, cloud computing, the Internet of Things. The list goes on and on and on. And so there's this incredible confluence that we're witnessing right now And essentially, that is exactly what we're going to be looking at tonight. So the people who we have brought in are experts in many different areas. We will begin with a success case study in the use of AI and machine learning at L'Oreal with our first speaker. And we'll move then to a roundtable discussion with experts in marketing strategy, data analytics, AI from the entertainment sector, from healthcare, from sales, from FMCG, and the beauty sector. And finally, we'll have a discussion on the state of retail and technology with none other than one of the top directors from Apple, who has come in from Cupertino in California to speak with us. We will have a break in the middle, and then afterwards there will be a cocktail which we would like to invite you all to join us for. So without further ado, our first speaker is going to present to us a case of how AI and machine learning can be incorporated into a marketing strategy. Leticia Montenegro is an expert in CRM and loyalty. She previously worked in Bodybell, ALSA, with MRM McCann Spain. And Leticia has spent the last 3 years as the head of CRM in Spain and Portugal at L'Oreal. So please join me in welcoming Leticia Montenegro.
Thank you. Thanks. Well, thank you so much. It's a real honor to be here. I'm so happy to be here at the Martech Summit at IE. I'm really honored to share with you tonight. You already present me, so not gonna share again, but I'm Leticia Montenegro, head of CRM at L'Oreal since 2020. And that's it. In fact, I study marketing, so I've been working on CRM, loyalty, e-commerce, but everything related to digital marketing during all my life. So I will never say that I'm expert because, as you were saying before, ecosystems and tools and everything is changing and evolving day by day. So I think that you can never be an expert on almost everything, but you need to continue study all your life. So what I try to do today is share with you some things about the future, about the new technologies, and also about how important data it is in our daily life and, of course, in our marketing strategy. And also, I will try to inspire you a little bit. I think most of you know L'Oreal, of course, but some of you, maybe you don't know that we are 36 global brands, so we are a super big group company. Maybe you know some of the brands, some of the others don't, but let me share a quick video with you about L'Oreal, about the company, and about our purpose. And then I'll try to share with you how technology and data enables us to beat or to achieve our goals, our mission, and our purpose. So this is our purpose: create the beauty that moves the world. It's so ambitious, but this is how we do it. But the thing is that, okay, this is our purpose. It's beautiful, of course. But how can we, as a more than 110 years old company, how can we face the future? How can we face all the evolutions, all the changes, and everything that is happening around us? So on the same words, using the same words of our CDMO Global, Asmita, as I love this sentence because she's always saying that we believe that the future of beauty is physical, digital, and virtual. And I love this because, okay, it's amazing, the future is amazing, everything is changing a lot, but please don't forget that there is a physical world with customers doing physical things in a physical world, not only digital and virtual. So please don't forget that. But I love this because, and I'll try to show you with the technology that we have, for beauty industry, physical is so important because at the end we sell lipsticks, we sell fragrances, we sell things that you really need to touch, to feel, to smell. So, but the thing is that we really think that the future is digital and virtual, and thanks to science and of course technology and creativity, which is also super important, we are facing this amazing challenge that we have. So this is like the new beauty playground that we like to call it. Here you can see different experiences, pilots, different campaigns that we have launched already. I'm going to show you just a couple of samples, and then we'll go deeper on the business case I want to show you. But please, if you want to know more about how are we using virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, gaming, the metaverse, or NFTs, just please ask me later if you want, or just you can search it. But just want to show you an example of, okay, the purpose, in our purpose, we try to be super inclusive and diversity, and how can technology can help us with this? So the thing is that, for example, we have brands as NYX or Maybelline, L'Oréal Professionnel, which are driving the knowledge that we have on hairstyles, on makeup, and so on, to create, in partnership with other companies, of course, create different avatars for the metaverse. So the thing is that we're trying to do the metaverse a more inclusive and diversity place, a safest place for everybody. So you can go on and decide who you want it to be. So I can decide who I want it to be today. I can create my avatar, and I can create it with different Maybelline makeups or hairstyles from L'Oréal Professionnel. And also, just on another example, I want to show you on how these new technologies can be part of any marketing strategy. So this was an example of Mugler, another brand, a perfume brand. They were launching Alien, a new perfume. So the thing is that, okay, I'm gonna launch a new perfume. So I will have my physical marketing campaign as always. I will have TV, I will have magazine. So you can go on the streets and see the ads. Of course, you will have digital marketing plan, of course, but you can also have virtual plan. So you can go on this first fashion week on the metaverse that they were running, and see also the ads of the campaign of the perfume, and also interact and ask for a sample, physical sample, of course, that goes to your home. So just going to show you a little bit of examples of how are we facing the future with the new technology. Of course, we will hear tonight a lot of examples from other industries, markets, companies, about how everything is changing a lot, how the ecosystem is evolving, and how us as a consumer are also changing, and everything is changing so quick. But I truly believe that the data is the only thing that will power this transformation. But going again, as I started saying that I work on CRM, trust me, I really work on CRM. So what about CRM? What are we doing? Or how can we embrace this new technology, embrace the future, and embrace AI, and try to deliver and create this data-driven relationship with our customers? So the thing is, again, customers, please don't forget that the most important thing on every marketing campaign, on every marketing idea is our customers. So of course, on CRM, we really put them at the very center of every decision. And the thing is that, okay, we do have customers, many customers, thank God. And we try to deliver beauty for all, which is great. But also we love the idea, okay, that beauty for each, because each customer is completely unique. And it's important to don't forget that, because we love the idea, and what we try to deliver is the idea, okay, don't send the same message to someone which is blonde, or someone which is red hair, or someone with curly hair or straight hair. So that's the idea behind beauty for all and beauty for each. So we try to listen, personalize, engage, and create a relationship, long-term relationship, which is super important, with each customer, even though they are on pharmacies, on a salon, on a big retailer, on a boutique. The thing is that how can we do that? So, well, thank God, technology is here. Maybe what you don't know is, okay, we are 36 brands, perfume, makeup, skincare, and so on, but there's only part of a company. We have Modiface, which is a company that is part of L'Oreal, that is able to drive, deliver, and create technology with augmented reality, artificial intelligence, and drive all these services, beauty tech, we call it, of course. We put a beauty on everything we do. But the thing is that thanks to this technology, and I'll show you in a minute, we are able to listen, personalize, and engage with our customers. Again, let me show you a video to see how many different technologies we are developing, and you can understand why we don't say that we are a beauty company anymore. We love to say that we are a beauty tech company. So this is our mission on just talking about CRM. So again, listen to our customer, because it's really important to listen at the customer needs and understand what each customer needs, and be able to create and personalize each experience and create this immersive personalized experience with them, always based on the data, of course. So as we were saying, and you've seen in the video, we have been developing so many services and so many different experiences, online or offline, using, well, I will just focus on some of them that you can find, for example, here, physically in El Corte Inglés or in a Kiehl's boutique, but also digitally in any of the websites of our brands. So you can go see, and for example, the virtual try-on is what I was saying before. So purchasing a lipstick is something so physical that you need to go to a store and see if the color is okay for you, it's okay for your skin. But thanks to these virtual try-ons, we are able, or we give the power to each customer to see, okay, with your mobile phone, with your own device, you can take a selfie, you can upload a photo, whatever, and see how the color will match with your skin. So we have been developing so many virtual try-ons with hair color and makeup, but also finders. So for example, I love the mascara finder in Lancome, which make like an analysis of your eyelashes to see which should be your best mascara to use, depending on many things, so on the scan of your eyelashes. And also the thing that I most like is the diagnosis, skincare diagnosis or hair care diagnosis. Again, online or offline, we have been developing different devices and different technology behind that can scan your face, can scan your skin, and understand what should be your main concern or your main need. So depending, for example, can be your spots in one customer or wrinkles in another customer. So everything behind everything is augmented reality and artificial intelligence that is learning also from one customer to another. And again, the idea is developing these outstanding experiences for everybody, online and offline. So you can go on and try this, which is amazing, but also scary because at the end, they tell you a lot of things that are bad with your skin. But the thing is that how it works for a customer. So as or everybody as a customer, you see, okay, they have developed Beauty Tech. I can choose one. So for example, I can go on La Roche-Posay and I try my skincare diagnosis. What I got as a customer is, okay, I got an analysis of my data about my skin, and then I will receive a recommended routine for my skin concerns and also, well, all the results. How technology is helping us, or what is behind that for us as a company? So, well, not a secret, first-party data collection, which is also so important. So this immersive experience allows us to have more data from our customers. Also, we have been able to drive engagement or drive more engagement with our customers as we are listening to their needs. We can personalize all the experience with all that rich data, and at the end, we are growing value. So for me, the idea is that data is not a freak thing anymore. It can be so beautiful because data is allowing us to understand better our customers and have a deeper knowledge of what they need and what they want. At the end, what we do on the theorem side, of course, well, we can develop super personalized journeys from welcome to purchase to whatever, with all this rich data, also messages. So this is just an example from last week on La Roche. So, okay, it can be seen as the same messages, but it's not, because depending on your main concerns, on your type of skin, we are personalizing on the products. And also, of course, all this rich data that can be used in many other sites of marketing. And at the end, okay, we have driving engagement, TLV, again, long-term relationship, which is super important, and better personalization and targeting. So I put you some QR codes that you can scan if you want to, but again, everything is on the website. But if you want to try, it's so funny that you can find your perfect safe finder or see what is your main concern for your skin. And I hope it is somehow inspiring for you. And I hope, well, it gives you like a little bit of what we are doing and how data can transform a company. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks.
That was fascinating. Thank you very much, Leticia, for that intervention. I'd like to now introduce you to our IE professor, Pedro Moreno, who's going to lead us through a roundtable discussion. I'm going to let Pedro do the introduction. So Pedro, if you'd like to join us.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. I'm very glad to be moderating today's panel. We have amazing professionals here from different industries. So I would like to invite here on stage Cristina Carranza from GG Tech Entertainment. I would also like to call on stage Diego Ishimura from Hogarth, and Simon Rost from GE. And finally, yes, please have a seat. Not the middle one. The middle one is mine. Yeah, that's mine. Yes, thank you. Thank you. And Barbara also from Netflix. So welcome. So today, is this working? Hello? Yeah, you can hear me, right? So guys, what do we have to say about AI? We're kind of like drowning in AI, right? Everybody wants to talk about it. Everybody wants more of it. This year is definitely the launch, the rocket launch of AI in all industries. So I would like to ask and start the panel. What are you using AI for mainly? What is the main use case that you have in your different companies?
Whoops, is it going to be me?
Yeah,
The first one. Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure. And a big question. Pedro was talking about the boom of AI. I actually differ in opinion. I think we've had AI for some time. We've just gone through, I think, an iPhone moment where all of a sudden everything has changed, right? But we've been using data forecasting, chatbots, and other forms of AI tools for the past years, I'd even say decades. How we, in the industry where I work, which is gaming and entertainment, how are we approaching AI specifically? I think we're trying to establish this hyper-personalization phase where we're taking all the information that we have of our users and adjusting it so that they offer that customized experience at very different levels, right?
So the next best offer, right?
Exactly.
This is, again, and this has been going on for many years now, but actually it's kind of like crystallized into something a little bit more complex, right?
Exactly. So if we would take maybe one step back and understand what we've been doing for the past couple of years with AI. I think understanding timing is very important. There's going to be a lot of change that's going to be happening. And with all the data that we're having access to, and Leticia was talking about in her previous panel, we're starting to understand the depths of the experiences that we can provide in a forward-looking way with this data. So I'll give everyone here an example, right? Imagine that you had a tool that could know you very well, has all your information, and could personalize your entertainment experience to an optimal level, right? And this in the gaming environment is quite common. So not only can you go into your desired game or your preferred game, but once you go there, you have your favorite environments, your favorite level, your favorite partners, your favorite avatar. Everything is catered to your needs. And specifically, that's how we, at least in the gaming entertainment industry, are working with AI.
All right, fantastic. Probably a lot of more use cases for hyper-personalization. So I don't know, Barbara, would you like to?
Yes, of course. So I think, like Cristina was mentioning, it seems like the world started with AI in February this year, but we've been using it for a long time already. All of us have been exposed to it without even knowing it, because there's two kinds of AI to simplify things. We've got predictive, which is getting all the data around us, getting all that noise, understanding the patterns, and then how do we actually action that, which is what we've all been exposed to. And then the generative one, which is probably the fancier, newest thing, which is, oh, I can create a video, I can create an image, I can create a copy out of scratch, which it's just starting. and will evolve very quickly. So from my side, I think right now what we've certainly been using, it's more the predictive data, so understanding the data patterns, understanding lifetime value of users, how can you increase that? Where are your most valuable users coming from, and how can you get more of those? What brings a better profit for your company, and how can you multiply that based on the data that you have? And then we will be starting to use more and more of the generative ones. But as of now, I'd say most companies are just starting to understand the possibilities there.
What's interesting is that how can you couple these two phases of AI, right? How can you couple the predictive side with the generative side, and maybe automate completely many tasks that right now need to be manned, yeah?
And I think that's the end goal, no? How can you spend less time on activities that might be of less value and spend more time on the strategic value added, which is not so much actually writing the copy itself, but thinking, well, what is a compelling copy for my users? What's a compelling story? And then getting the technology to automate that for you.
Right. Maybe, Dio, you could help us a little bit with that topic of how can we couple these two so that it's not just predictive or it's not just generative, that they flow together, hand in hand.
Yeah, well, one of the great things about data and AI is that they let you do these kind of things, right? So you can have like a really big amount of customers in your user journey, and then you can make a hyper-personalization, starting with DCO, that's like dynamic content optimization, where you can create a spot specifically for the needs or the wants that a people has, right? So maybe if you're looking for like a product, or you have some, like a behavior in Google, we can use that information to provide an ad that's specific and that's relevant for you. So that would be one of the use cases. In our industry, I'm part of Howard, it's part of WPP. It's the largest advertising group in the world, and we have actually used AI in most of our areas of expertise. Last year, we had an ad that was very famous in Spain. That's the ad with Lola, con mucho acento. Some of you may recognize it. We created a deep fake that was relevant to that specific brand, right? And so besides that, we have gained a lot of speed. So for example, we can do A/B testing for commercials. Before that, agencies had to create or to do those tests using storyboards, like pencil storyboards. And now with AI, we can do the whole ad, and it looks like an actual ad, but we don't have to spend the money creating that ad. And then that gives like agencies and creatives a lot of freedom to create anything they want. So we have.
Do you see a possible future where this actually happens? There's an AI that is analyzing all my consumption patterns, right? And that is able to predict what do I want next. Yeah. So it actually brings up an ad for a product that is in line, but the advertisement, instead of having, I don't know, like a middle-aged woman, actually has somebody who looks like me, so that in real time, the ad is personalized. Do you understand?
Yeah, I think it's actually possible, and not too long from now,
Not too long, yeah.
We'll probably be able to do that like in a year.
Yep.
But I don't think we will want to do that, because many times we talk about hyper-personalization, but I don't know, maybe if you open the phone one time and you can see your picture with wearing like a jacket or something, maybe you won't be so happy, So we have to keep in mind some lines, to safeguard users' privacy, to safeguard also users' data, because we can have or we can gain a lot of things with data, but we have to be very wary, and we have to be very responsible with the way we use all this information.
Absolutely. Are you creeped out by AI too? Yeah? That depends. Okay, Simon, how about yourself? What use cases do you have right now in the front line for AI?
For me, first, I remember very well when I started to think about the generative part of it. Before we had it as well for predictions and so forth, but it was in February this year when in the Time magazine there was no person but ChatGPT. There I thought like, gosh, this needs to be somehow important, this thing. And I built a small team, the young and wild I call them, and they came up with use cases that we should use right now in my marketing organization. A/B testing is one of those. Content creation is likely the biggest one that we have at this point in time. Copy.
Everybody's there.
What else do? We do competitive intelligence quite a lot with that, creating for our frontline sellers tools like battle cards. These are the first ideas, but it's literally a testing phase at this point in time. So we looked into 30 apps in total in these, let's say, areas. Boiled them down to 12 that was of interest. Then our IT department just said, hey, you cannot use half of them. You came to 6. And now we are using 4 of them. Copy AI for copy, Flicky AI for video creation, if I'm not completely wrong. Otter AI, which is a tool that helps you to basically keep your team efficient. And then I'm missing one, which is Beautiful AI for the design of PowerPoint, let's say, presentations. But as I said, it's an interesting journey we are going through here. And what I do normally is this kind of experimentation approach. So my team has roughly 15% of their budget, which is like the Shark Tank approach. They pitch for a project, a jury decides that's a project, and the AI was the one that won this year.
All right. And why does IT have so many issues approving your AI tools?
You should ask them. No, I guess that data privacy is a big one here. And in our area, being in healthcare, it's likely the most precious data points you have. It's often patient data. Mm-hmm. That's one of the concerns, I guess, that somehow patient data could leak out. Second important point that I think is their kind of pushback is the IP that we have, and in certain cases, which also should be protected. And then many times the terms and conditions are the ones where they push back on. What I figured out for myself is get them in early. Normally don't give them just a chance to be the naysayer, but tell them, hey, I need some gray from you, not black or white, right? And then some of the tools get through the funnel, at least knock on wood at this point in time. Yeah.
All right, because what you're actually implying is that some tools, for example, that you may want to use have their company-owned servers over in other territories where there's different regulations and stuff. Sometimes these tools may ask for rights of the content generated,
exactly,
which actually can be a barrier. Yeah. You've been mentioning a few tools already, like with proper names. Can any other panelist talk about actual tools that they're exploring so that we can share with the audience? Is there any, which one, or maybe not the brand name of the tool, but actually the tool itself? What does it do? I'm exploring this one to see if it actually suits my needs. Yeah.
Well, actually, I'd love to talk about the most obvious one that I'm working with, or at least trying to test a little bit, which is...
Don't tell me, GPT.
Not exactly. Copilot.
Copilot, all right.
Which is probably one of the, again, very obvious ones. One of the things that AI has given us, it's allowed us to start to be forward-looking, right? In the past, we've always focused on the past, right? To date, we've always been focused on the past. What data do we have until now? How I can use it to make decisions. But with forecasting at this super speed into the future, we can actually move forward, look towards the future. So let's imagine with a tool such as Copilot that I'm receiving an email where I'm requesting, I have a client brief request, and I can immediately have Copilot take that email, create a draft, come in, tailor it, hyper-personalize it, and then send it back in a question of a minute or two. Maybe 5 minutes if I need to sense check it just in case. Never let Copilot, on autopilot. And I found that's absolutely fascinating. It's reduced the monkey job of my organization. And if I had to guess the way it would look for other companies, I'm imagining it would be very similar. Right? We're going to be dedicating more time to think strategic, think added value, and less time on the really basic operational time-consuming tasks that add very little value. I know I didn't just discover, I'm not the oracle of truth, it's a very obvious one, but I was quite impressed with how easy it is to use.
One question, quick question. Is it not just faster, but also more efficient? Is the output result,
That's
pushing the numbers?
That's a really hard one. I hurt my ego. Definitely after being checked, it was better. I was actually surprised by the quality, the level of quality and accuracy at a first attempt. You always have to sense check the work you do. If you have an intern or a team that you're working with, there's always some tailoring, and also that human touch. And we can talk a little bit about this later, the way AI will never be human, or at least won't be human right now as we know it. Yep. Open debate for the future, or for the cocktail session. So in terms of efficiency, it's immense. We've seen reductions of like 95 or even 90% of presentation PPT preparation times. Salesforce or sales pipeline forecasting, things like trying to get those business decisions out of macro data. It's not necessary to be a business analyst as of yet in order to be able to take some insights. Naturally, you will need expert opinion to be able to really dig deep and get the granular added value. But I think we're still starting to see the peak of the iceberg of how the processes and the way we know them today are going to change.
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, you can't leave anything completely automated. You all understand that, right?
Never autopilot.
You always have to go and check. For now, yeah, maybe not so far from now, we will be able to rely very heavily on AIs being quite accurate to the T. By the way, could you explain a little bit more about those issues that you were mentioning earlier with we were talking earlier about how trustful AIs can be. Yeah?
So I think one of the key areas is how the algorithms are built with the data sets. So how do we make sure that there's the data behind them is as large, as unbiased, it's representative, because it just sort of trains the model and it can. The larger you have and the larger the data pool and how you have to ensure that all voices or all segments of the population are represented in order to have an output that would be as perfect as it can get. So we're talking earlier about trust and how you can still have to verify those data sets, like how do you make sure that the data set is accurate, it's up to date. And I think lots of large language models are being built just to make it tangible. The ChatGPTs, the Bards, the Landas. Everyone has a large model, so just pick your name. How do you ensure that the data behind it is as good as it can get in order to have the best output, and in order to have the consumer and user trust behind that?
Okay.
I told you, keep iterating as well is an important one.
Yes.
I believe that's the most important one. It's like every kind of technology. At the end, AI is a tool, very powerful one. But if you don't enable people to use it well, it will not go well, right? A fool with a tool is still a fool, likely. So that's one of the important things that you have to do. And the training behind that and how you also iteratively get better. I mean, we created this kind of prompt smart sheet where people can put prompts they're used into, and then it's basically getting better each time somebody uses it. But it's kind of an iterative process, I believe, to get, at the end, to be fully sufficient with this tool.
We're definitely in a point where we're just a lot of trial and error. Yeah? There has been an atomization of all these tools. Is there, going back to the use cases, is there any use case that you would like to see implemented with AI that is not yet there, and you would say, well, if this would happen, this would completely change the game? Or maybe it's a small thing, but it's important to you. It's like, I think you may have.
You know what? There is actually a use case. I would like to see what it's being developed. I think I can't actually talk about it.
Secret.
You will probably see it in half a year, 6 months,
okay.
or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Could you briefly, kind of like brush upon it?
I can tell you about other campaigns we have made. There's one because actually going back to the question you made earlier about the tools we use. One of the things we actually like to do is that we create custom code. We also use Copilot, works perfectly. But we have found many other applications that you normally can't see. So for example, for Cadbury in India, we created a website where you could input a friend's name, I don't know, the things he or she liked. And then with that information, we used ChatGPT to create like a custom song. And then we also created, well, the lyrics and the music and the vocals. So you could give, or you could personalize like a birthday song to someone, to like special someone. So those kind of use cases are the ones that actually, that are really, I really like, you know, because they take like a creative part and then you see like the potential AI has.
Yeah, I actually see that use case very clearly, especially after the example from Coca-Cola, where they actually opened a competition for user-generated content using these AIs, these generative AIs, and it was completely, open, without any regulations or rules or anything. It's just use the tool and see what you can come up with that has the Coca-Cola brand in it. And that's also very interesting because when you think about the World Wide Web and how it evolved, it was actually about democratizing the tools of production. Yeah, it was how every day Joes and Janes would be producing content for the web. So this is a new age for that, yeah, for user-generated content. And I don't know if you have it in your plans, but it would be an idea worth exploring.
I mean, yeah, AI, it's supposed to empower everyone. You know, that's the thing with AI. We are leaving behind the code and the programming because what AI actually wants is that anyone can get like a hold of a keyboard and then create anything. And I mean, I think as for other things, we are just like a couple of years away from that happening, you know, where you can actually use like normal language. You won't be needing like a special prompt or coding or anything. You will be able to talk to a computer the same way you talk to a person, and then you can create something truly amazing. So that's one of the things I really like, that it holds like an immense potential, where the only limits will be in the creativity of each individual.
I think it will be similar to the cell phones. Like we had the internet, then we had the smartphones, and I think just AI will be this revolution just as big as that one. Like just phones with cameras enabled creators to create, and now we live in the creator economy. Now we'll just multiply that to an even greater extent.
Do you actually see that as a threat for Netflix right now?
I think it'll just force everyone just to step up the game onto what creativity means. If we look what entertainment was 40 years ago until it's now, it's completely different. So you need to make sure like the pace is very fast, just like it is in education. It's fast in technology. It's fast in every single facet of our life. So entertainment is just one more of those. And Netflix certainly needs to make sure that they're on top of their game here.
I mean, we're still going to be doing the same things. We're still needing healthcare. We're still needing entertainment. Yeah, we still need to go shopping, and we still need to game. It's just going to be different. Yeah? It's going to be,
I guess, more involvement. At least in healthcare, for sure, you have this concept of the connected smart patient, or consumer even today, which has not been in the past the case. In the past, you normally did what your doctor told you, and that's it. Right now, you go to Google, that's the first one. In the future, likely to ChatGPT or Bart or whatever is a tool of choice. But today, I read this morning, 7% of all Google searches are healthcare related. That's 1 billion searches a day. I don't do it because I normally end up dead if I start Googling there, but that's the point at the end. I believe you have more involvement of the person who's seeing at the end Netflix maybe. You can actively participate in the story that you see there suddenly.
great.
Certainly can be somewhere where you do both.
Now, another topic that has been coming up in marketing technology is extended reality, spatial computing. You call it X. Just don't call it that word. Yeah? You know the word. Just don't call it that way. But we've seen like a big development in many industries, in the consumer packaged goods, in automotive, in so many industries that they actually do have these projects. I don't know if you actually have some projects related to it. I think Cristina, who is in GG Tech for gaming, can maybe illustrate.
Yeah, maybe I'll talk a little bit about what I can say. I think that the M word.
Metaverse. Okay, metaverse.
It's had
Gonna
a very significant buzz moment. And I know we were having a conversation before around timing. Timing's not right now for metaverse to really have the colors that it will in the near future. But there's also, again, this misconception that we feel that the metaverse is something very new that was launched very recently, but that's not true. I'm going to ask a question to the public. Who here has gamed or has been a gamer? And it doesn't have to be League of Legends and Fortnite. It can be The Sims,
Candy
Crush,
Mario Kart,
the black and white Nokia. So we've all been having virtual interactions in a different world. That's something that's been happening for decades, right? So the idea that we can create connections that matter in a place that's not the physical world is not new. It's been happening for some time. And I'll give you guys an example which I thought was fantastic, and it really puts into perspective the physical, the virtual, commerce, marketing, and everything together. I had the opportunity to go to TwitchCon. Twitch is a streaming platform, and they had a convention in Vegas a couple of weeks ago. And I was able to be there, and I saw something that looked like, once we were at the convention, in addition to very large communities and a lot of streamers, a massive Doritos shop. I wasn't aware that you can have like 10 different flavors of Doritos. Apparently it's a thing in the US. So there was this shop, and at the beginning it was very difficult to understand what's going on here. Why is there a massive Doritos and human life-size Doritos, people walking around with a Dorito costume? So we went in, and then we realized that you had this section with computers where you could game, enter a Fortnite, which is a game map, into a Dorito universe where you could do challenges, and you can actually go into the shop and discover things, and you could win like a life-size bag of Doritos. And people were going crazy. Right? So Gen Z millennials, they were going and they're like, I want to win my life-size bag of Doritos. So you have a virtual world where people are connecting. At the same time, they're physically at a convention where they're connecting again. And then you're also teaching around these 10 different amazing flavors of Doritos that then you can win, take home. So you're also catering to your e-com needs. You're gathering information, you're creating awareness of your product, you're creating engagement with Gen Z, who's a focus audience, and all within this physical online mishmash that's entertainment, right? So I think we're just, again, starting to see what marketing, the metaverse, online, offline can look like. It's right now it's evolving at a really rapid pace. And again, Leticia mentioned at the beginning, I want to inspire you. I hope this inspires all the marketeers to really think big. And how can I join all this? Does the metaverse mean we're leaving the real world? Not necessarily. It means we'll just learn how to coexist in a different way, virtually and physically, maybe.
But I think, Christina, you bring a very good point, which is for a user, the world's not digital, physical. You just connect with a brand or you connect with a product. And you do it in your day-to-day. And there's so many touch points. Some of them happen physically, some of them happen on your phone, on your television. No one thinks if they're watching television, is it linear TV, is it connected TV, is it smart TV, am I streaming? They're just watching entertainment or you're connecting with a brand. So you, as a brand, you need to make sure that you're connecting with your user in the moments that matter and what that looks like to make sure that you're earning that brand love. So I think that Doritos example is very smart.
Well, the promise of virtualization and the digitalization of the world is vast. You know, is something that holds such potential for competitive advantages in terms of digital transformation, right? Do you have a thought on this?
Yeah.
From Hogarth?
I mean, we have helped lots of companies create different implementations, create their own metaverses, and participate in games like Fortnite, actually. But I don't know. I read once that the photography had to remind the painting what it should stop doing. So I think that the metaverse should remind us what we should stop doing. The metaverse has the potential to become like this new world with new rules, and I think we haven't brushed that yet. So I think there's there's a big potential. It's just that it's still a baby. We are still holding it in our arms. But I don't know, in a couple of years, I think it's going to be something like really, really big.
What I think is that many people think about the virtualization, metaverse, call it X, and they're thinking about this big chunky computer that you have to wear on your face. Yeah, and obviously you say, well, that's not going to happen. I can't take it outside. And there's lots of videos that you can find on YouTube where people trip over and just bang their heads. There's this resistance against that. And besides, you look like an idiot, doing like that inside that helmet. But we're using it with our phones, with augmented reality. I think everybody here has done augmented reality on their phones. So that's a massive adoption. And probably we need to take care of that. Yeah? We need to take advantage of this. As for healthcare, virtual reality.
In healthcare, I guess it's because people can sometimes not move. It's actually a good thing to have these glasses to maybe see something you would not see if you are somewhere in a bed, right? I think the biggest use cases we see is training for physicians is a big one, and then any kind of, let's say, fear-related diseases you can treat with them. You can put people in situations where they don't want to be mentally. That's for sure one, and then in some cases even to make, I call it the healthcare experience, which is not always a nice one if you are ill, right? But make it better in certain kind of situations. Seeing flowers when you are at an OR, for example. These kind of things are possible. And then we have also use cases where physicians work together in virtual reality, where you've got somebody in Dubai and somebody else basically can then see how this individual's hand is doing the operation somewhere in LA, let's say. That's also the case. But as healthcare is very conservative, I guess we are a little bit laggard in the technology than other sectors.
For healthcare, I think that there was a program, I can't remember the specifics, where kids would go terrified into the scanning rooms. Yeah? And they would actually get them to go through the experience virtually first, so that then when they went there in person, they were much more calmer because they knew what to expect. Yeah? Also, during this scanning process, they would actually get like cartoons and stuff, inside their glasses.
Dentist could be a good one. The dentist, the typical one where I always go like, hey,
how boring.
Put the TV there. Don't need even VR. I just need a TV to. No, but I guess there are many use cases. But as I said, we are more laggards in these technologies because of the regulations, and also it's sometimes not very easy. They have to be sterilized, right? They cannot open in ORs. There are many, let's say, blockers that are not putting us at the same level as entertainment, for example.
It's basically because of the configuration of the technology as it is today, right? I mean, laptops on your face, that's not very natural. Until they actually look like a pair of normal Gucci glasses or something, yeah? That's when we're going to go crazy for them, probably.
I have to add, they are used not just in healthcare, but in very simple topics like service. Like maintenance, for example. That's not just for healthcare equipment, but for others. That's a typical use case we also have.
In terms of customer experience, I know, for example, in the United States, Walmart, the biggest retailer, they use it to train employees by the thousands in very little time, right? And it's very interesting because they have a Black Friday simulation. So they train their employees to deal with Black Friday situations where there's usually a lot of messy, operations, and you usually get like people fighting for the last toy or the last TV, and so that they get trained so that they can properly deliver a customer experience that is up to the standards. Right. So let's talk about trust, because I think the digital world needs that. Yeah. The trust is a big word in digital. And we've seen what the social networks have done to the trust in the digital world. And how are we going to trust this new world when artificial intelligence is just generating such high-quality outputs that we cannot distinguish, between if it's real, if it's not? What do you think about that? Do you have an opinion on that?
My goodness, this is a very big topic.
It is, and it's daunting because nobody has a real answer for it. Yeah.
So, like you said, this is only an opinion. The leading AI and tech representatives, or those who are in a position of knowledge, will have to sit down and meet at some point and understand the guardrails and how to really create a protected and safe experience with AI. Because right now, everything is going at such a fast pace. It's very difficult to identify when we're breaching that trust. And it's a gray area, and I'd love to hear what the other panelists think, because it's something that at least we are facing in gaming constantly, in development, in trying to understand how to protect our code, how to make our code safe, and how to make our users feel that they're in a safe environment when they are giving their information and interacting with what we do. And to be honest, I haven't found to date a solution that I feel comfortable with. I haven't seen a solution that I feel comfortable with. I think that right now we're just trying to understand where it is, what it is. Have you found something where you're all looking at me like, no, don't?
No, I know. I mean, we think that the key ingredient is for the user to understand what's going on with his data or her data. We don't use large language models as much as we could, precisely because we have to safeguard users' data. So we actually divide all our projects like in two parts. One is what happens once we have users' data, like if you enter a website and you have the cookies, and in that place or in that part, what we do is that we are very transparent about what we do with the data. Like, we are going to use this to give you better ads, but if you don't want that, it's okay. And you have to click just like one button, and all the data we have from you will be erased. So that's one of the things we do. And when users take, for example, that kind of road, we use other tools like contextual advertising, where you don't actually need third-party data, or you don't actually need anything from the user. You just create advertising in articles, in blog posts, or on videos or something, Because if someone is reading about, I don't know, about a Champions League soccer match, then it's very likely that if we show him like a sportswear or I don't know, like a ticket to go to where this soccer match is going to happen, it's very likely that he's going to be interested.
It's much more relevant in the context.
Yeah. So that would be one part. And the other part is that we try to make users understand what's going to happen. Because we can create, for example, like a chatbot where they can ask for things regarding like product detail or information or something.
Sorry.
But then they don't just do that, They ask like all kinds of questions, and then we have to safeguard them from revealing data, and we have to safeguard our clients to keep like everything in check. So that part is actually quite complicated, but we have been trying to go by that, like taking this into account, that it's the user, the one that has to decide what is going to happen with his data.
Aside, it's actually a value of your company if you treat data respectfully, and you need to communicate that. I mean, Apple, for example, later on there's an Apple executive coming to talk to you about this probably at some point. But but they've made it the flagship value, you know, of out of their products, and everybody in the big tech industry has followed suit. You know, they're all started to say, "Oh, we sell privacy. We sell privacy." Yeah.
And we launched something similar in 2018, which are the AI principles. Whenever we develop AI, you have to be a steward of the data. You have to fight against bias. You have to keep it as open as you can, how this AI works and so on. But that's in the product development on the marketing side. That's a big value, I guess. But for me, there's also an educational aspect. You cannot expect to have hyper-personalized content for Simon Rost, and I don't give up privacy. This will not happen either, right? And in our world, it's also, yes, we likely have the most important data out there, which is healthcare data. But if you ask somebody who's a stage 3 cancer patient, the last thing he or she cares about is the data, right? They want a cure for something. So that's coming back to your point. It's a thing we have to solve. There's education, basically, why data is important, what you can do with that, and also how it should be protected. Because if not, you will not be able to develop any kind of AI. Because it fuels, at the end, data fuels the development of these algorithms. So for me, there's always this kind of part. You cannot expect that, for example, AI cures you if you don't give up certain kind of privacy or healthcare data. This will not work.
Something that has come up in the conversation is chatbots. What are you guys doing with chatbots? Do you have any initiatives on that side? I know that they had a very successful run, and then they kind of like crashed and burned, and then they're kind of like going, resuscitating, yeah? After the large language models. What is your opinion on chatbots? Do you have any?
Well, we have been trying lately chatbots, and also it's like latest evolution. That's when you make a call and then you can have like a complete conversation, and it's like you're talking to a human being. So
creepy.
That actually, yeah, and it gets creepier. It actually works great because the voice, it sounds completely natural.
Does it do the aha?
Yeah. It also holds its breath, you know? That's really weird.
Yeah.
Like, and you say like, you don't really need to hold your breath.
You don't need to breathe at all.
Like a machine, right? But I think chatbots have a tremendous potential because it's like a person sitting down with you and explaining to you a product or a service or solving any doubt for you. So it has tremendous potential. And I mean, just so you understand how good chatbots can be, there are now services where you can hire like a chatbot to be your boyfriend or girlfriend.
Oh yeah, I heard about it.
Yeah, so it's really weird because you can customize that chatbot, and you can create a chatbot and you say like, oh, you know what? I need you to be like really caring, or you have to be really into grunge music or whatever. So even though that's a bit weird, I mean, I can't judge.
It's weird now.
Yeah, it's weird. But you can see how good a chatbot can be, where a person is willing to pay $10 a month to have a relationship with a machine. So it has tremendous potential. It's just.
I hope this worries you, by the way.
No, but there's good examples. We had studies in healthcare that a chatbot is more empathetic than a doctor, because a doctor is just time constrained. They cannot fully focus, and a chatbot basically. There are studies that show that a chatbot could give an answer with more empathy than your doctor could, and that's scaring me off. But I think it depends very much on how you define the use case. Right? If I want to schedule my appointment for a diagnosis scan in a hospital, I'm happy to do this via chatbot, right? And if I want to, have some kind of routine about my nutrition, yeah, chatbot is good. But if somebody has to communicate that I've got cancer, likely I want to see this in person, not in a Zoom call, sitting with somebody who can tell me what does that mean actually, right? It's how you define the use case, from my point of view.
Did you know that in California, they have a law that if you're a chatbot, you need to identify to whoever you're talking to first? So, hi, I'm a robot, yeah? Just in case you can fool the user into believing something different. And all of this takes us to a very important topic is jobs. What's going to happen to that? Barbara, what do you think about,
We were talking earlier, and I think there's a few things. One is, this is opening the door to jobs that were not as fancy before. I kept thinking if I told my parents that I was going to study linguism or humanities when I was going to university, they would have gone ballistic. And right now, it's probably the fanciest career you can go on as of now with what exists. 5 years from now, it will be a different story. But so opening opportunities to new paths. Second one, it's going to make us more strategic. So probably just like I was telling my father the story a few months ago about how the travel industry changed with the internet. And it's not that it has disappeared. It's just that you don't go to a travel agent just to book a simple ticket plane. You do it when you have a very complex trip or something very special. But if not, it has created a whole suite of completely different jobs within the hospitality industry. So I foresee this being like that. When I started studying, my job did not exist. So the different skill sets and the different things that you need to be prepared for are completely different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What I also see is that with this overabundance of AI, digitalization, etc., the physical world is probably going to be reinvigorated. Yeah, it's going to be reappreciated once again.
Yeah, I mean, regarding jobs, when Google launched, a novel job appeared. It was called Google Specialist, and the job description was to search in Google. So actual companies paid you to search on Google, right? Right now, yeah, we can laugh about it. But at the moment, some people thought that would actually make sense. However, what was actually born from that was the SEO, the search engine specialist and optimization, and other specialties that we hadn't foreseen. So I think something similar will happen like with prompt engineers. I don't actually think prompt engineer will be like a profession in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah, mainly because a computer and an AI can do much better the job of prompt engineering than a prompt engineer can. And from the way, I don't know, things look, I don't think it's going to be needed more than a couple of years to understand how to prompt until we can actually do that in completely natural language. However, I do think that other kinds of jobs will come from that. Because right now, artificial intelligence and many other things consume a lot of the resources. So maybe some of the jobs that will come tomorrow are jobs that will be supported by AI to reduce problems, you know? Because we have to learn how to make the same things we are doing now, but to do it in a better way. Like we have to reduce the resources we spend and to reduce the waste we are creating. So I think new jobs will be created surrounding that part, because companies are treating, especially now, they are very mindful about taking care or saving, saving the planet. So I think many jobs will have, it's not like you will have to study AI. It's more like you will be like a marketeer and you will integrate AI in your daily workflow.
Mm-hmm. That's the important one, I think, because for me, the big point is did some of you saw the Sam Altman Development Day speech, where he basically created a chatbot in 4 minutes, just without any kind of programming, right? And if you look right now, if somebody today studies, and there's this new technology called generative AI, and I, in my point, also have to work with that, we are not at the same level, right? I'm getting older. There's this thing called neuroplasticity that I cannot learn as fast as a young person. So basically, you democratize somehow education at this point in time through AI as well. What I think will be different, you have to be more flexible. That's one very important point. You have to constantly also unlearn things that you learned in the past. That's something which is not what we learned. I first did my first degree.
That's
You
hard.
thought, hey, I'm done. Then the second degree, yes, I'm done. I did the third one. Now I went like, hey, you have to constantly update yourself after 5 years because you are in medtech. It's I think every 72 days. The knowledge just doubles, right? So you will, unfortunately or fortunately, need to learn how to work with these digital tools going forward. And it's like this
Absolutely.
digital literacy, what I think is a main skill today that you need.
Putting your head in the ground and hoping all of this to go away is not the way to go, all right? You need to be proactive. You need to start getting your hands dirty. You need to, lose the fear and start using them. The sooner you get to that, probably the sooner you're going to find a way to make yourself relevant. How about your take?
Super quick.
Super quick.
Because I think are we out of time?
No, we're in time. Go ahead.
I think you can all tell I'm a AI technology optimist. I love to think of the opportunity more than the being scared and the
Thank
danger
you.
of what will
Yes.
not happen.
Thank
But
you.
the opportunity. And I love to focus on the superhuman concept. Bear with me. Okay. What does this mean? Is the generation of the future professionals will have understood how to use AI to magnify all their capacities, right? I understand what they're not good at and amplify what they are amazing at, as well as cover those gaps. So they will become superhuman, right? They will be able to do more for less in a more efficient time frame, and also being able to give more value in the marketing world where we're being challenged to always make a larger revenue for every dollar that we spend, right? So instead of thinking about the change as a negative impact, we should be empowered to think, how can I ride this wave, which is going to be amazing in the technological world, and how can I use it to identify how I as a professional can be great using AI as my third arm or as my ally. I don't know if anyone wants to challenge
absolutely.
me.
Just rely on humans for empathetic and truly creative tasks, not really on machines, right? For the time being. Let's see what happens. So thank you very much. I'm going to close the panel now, and I'm going to open it for the floor. If you have any questions for our specialists, we'll be happy and glad to take them. Don't be shy. All right, we have one question here.
Hello. Oh, I don't know if it's. Oh, okay. Thank you. I wanted to just ask this to you personally. What do you think? Because a couple of weeks ago, I think I can't remember the name of the journalist, but he made an interview with Mark Zuckerberg on the metaverse, and they used the VR glasses, and it looked so real. And I don't know, what do you think about how real people look even inside this virtual world?
Yeah, how people look when
physically,
you FaceTime,
yes.
for example. Do they look very realistic when you FaceTime?
I mean, yes, but I feel like this is much more different than because when you're FaceTiming, you're actually seeing the person, but in this world, they got a scan.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it felt through the video, what I saw, it was they were in the same
I
room.
understand the difference because in that kind of immersive experience, you have a first-person view rather than a third-person view. You see in the frame and a person inside the frame, whereas with what you're dealing with is more well, we were discussing that earlier, and I don't know who mentioned it. Was it you? Yeah? Okay, I think Deo has some comments on that. Go ahead, Deo.
No, I know what interview you're talking about. It's an interview that was made on the metaverse. They have the new glasses, the new the Quest, and it looked really, really it was like talking to another person. The thing about that is that maybe it isn't scalable as of today. So I think it's great technology. It just needs to
Absolutely.
grow a little bit more.
Yeah.
just to get where we can use it.
The thing is, when I connect 5 or 6 Quest in the same room, the Wi-Fi pineapple just, that's it. You know, I can't have another one. That's impossible. So there's many developments that are needed until we actually have goggles that everybody can use, you know, at the same time. Any other questions related to anything that we've covered or not? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, thanks for being here. This AI is going so fast, and my question is because so many people are creating profiles in Instagram of models, and they are earning money with this. Yeah. So my question is how companies are going to regulate that or limit. How are going to limit that? What is the limit of AI?
Of these AI influencers, you mean?
No, these are a sample.
I can jump in here if you want. This is something that we struggle with in gaming all the time, because we have bots that are constantly going into our games and trying to move the results in one direction or other. There are already security mechanisms in place that are on constant evolution that are trying to identify those profiles and eliminate them. There's, I think, 2 ways we have to look at this. One, the profiles, and if they're considered true profiles. In that case, they are identified and they exist until they're identified that they're harmful or they go against the policies. Like all private platforms have their policies that you have to abide by. And then there's those that are fraudulent, that are in some circumstance against the policies. And those are usually controlled. It's true that AI is moving so fast that at times that we find these breaches, right? Because with the growth and evolution of technology and AI, there's moments where one of those, they don't catch up, right? So identify a breach, and then technology covers that breach, and then we start again. So there are mechanisms and policies around private platforms that work and that try to control this. Yeah. Then maybe there's another debate around property and to what point that should exist, but that's not so much entering in how that's protected. And that's as far as I can go, unfortunately.
And I guess there will be, we agreed not to talk about it, but there will be one thing, which is regulation, which at some point will put also a limit to how this technology is used. And we are working on that as we speak, but we said it's such a boring topic that we are not going to...
Oh, it's fascinating, but it's just so complicated.
Complicated. Yeah, 2 points.
All right. Okay, unfortunately, I'm going to have to, well, yeah, come on, last one.
Thank you very much. Fabio Puglia, pleasure to be here and listen to you. I don't know if you heard that, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago, Google was a bit criticized because of the launch of the new Pixel 8 Pro, specifically, because it said that it distortions the reality of the pictures that it takes, because it includes AI in the pictures. I mean, you can select if you use it or not, but directly it changed the reality. So taking a very good point that Leticia mentioned before, I really like the distinction between physical world and the real world, the virtual world, because I always heard online, offline, and now it's like physical and the rest, right? So from your perspective, or your professional perspective of different areas, do you also criticize that thing that Google is developing, or do you think it's something that we should normalize and, as you said, be aware of, okay, this is like in a stamp, right? AI created, or to be aware just that it's part of our next reality? Thank you very much.
So I'll take this one if you want. I think there's a disclaimer that images are AI enhanced, just like in the UK, there had to be a disclaimer that images had been photoshopped with models. I think images and creation have been enhanced in advertising for a long time in many forms. Whether now that technology is available for everyone in this room to use, whereas before you had to be a photographer and had like a very specific use case. But anything that we see in advertising is not the real world per se, because it's been built to look in a certain way, to make the image look more appealing, the model, the product itself. When those have been retouched, there's regulation that where that has been called out, with AI, I think that's one of the areas where Google's actually pushing towards, which is their images do have a disclaimer saying AI enhanced. Whether that now can exist by default and then you have to undo it, then that might be a different story. But yes, certainly. But that has already existed in advertising for a very long time.
But if your point is that AI should be part of your life, I tell you, as a patient at some point in time, I would request that an algorithm checks at least what the doctor says. I don't think it's one or the other. This kind of augmentation, a marketer who uses AI likely will outsmart the one who's not. And that's, for me, there have to be boundaries, but in general, the concept is not, I would not per se say no to that AI somehow enhances your reality. And separating digital from analog, we don't do this anymore. It's all a mix at the end.
I would like to close the panel by restating what Christina said before. Stop being afraid of it. Yeah, I know many of you are terrified, but it's, the risk is larger if you decide not to use it. Okay? I know you have many questions now after a moment of shyness and silence. But we're going to stick around, yeah, and I hope you also stick around so that we can have a proper chat now during our little beverages and refreshments that we have prepared for you. For later. That is correct. For now, we're going to say thank you very much for joining us today, and I hope to see you in a few moments.
Thank you so much, Pedro. Thank you so much to all of you. This has been absolutely fascinating. We have one more guest. Before, like all good students, you have to wait till cocktail hour. So thank you very much. I'm gonna introduce our next. Thanks, Pedro. Thank you. So thank you. I'm really excited to introduce you to our last conversation. I'd like to introduce you to my dear friend Quique Atienza. Quique has a curriculum which is to envy. Regional Director and Vice President, Store Operations North America for the Walt Disney Company. Then was Senior Vice President, Retail Americas and Global Store Operations for Levi's, or as they say in Spain, Levi's. And currently, Senior Market Director, Americas West, South, and Latin America, and Global Retail for Apple. So let's give a warm welcome to Quique Atienza, who's came all the way here from California to be with us.
Thank you. Am I on?
All right.
Okay.
Finally, I get that. It's nice to see you.
I know, so excited. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's great to be home, and great to be.
I just want to. You did remember to bring me my new headset, right?
Oh yeah, I brought one for everybody.
Oh, okay, fantastic. All right, thank you. So, just to begin, I want to have we've talked about a lot of use cases, a lot of specifics, and what I'm really interested in knowing from you, from your vast experience in retail, in particular retail and marketing, but also I think it's so interesting that you went from entertainment to fashion, and now you're in technology. So we have all these new opportunities through augmented reality, AI, spatial computing, robotics, etc. And we were talking about not mentioning the M word, because we know that hype can often. Sometimes we overhype things and then we get excited about them and they take longer than we expected and we start to lose interest. So are you a believer or a doubter? Where are you right now on this confluence of technology? And particularly, I'd like to know, Quique, where do you think, where are we headed?
Yeah, great question. And I'm definitely a believer. I think technology is, if it's well used, enriches people's lives. I say it all the time, and I think this new technology, it's not different. I think it's the how we use it. To me, it's the key, and obviously it's it's a fear just based on what it was being talked before in how is it going to be used, right? But I am definitely a believer. I mean, I also, just based on my personal experience on the applications that I've seen, whether it's on, increased productivity or, or others, but it's also, there's certain data points that you need to also use to really understand how the market, how the consumer react to these new technologies. And if you think about, just ChatGPT, for example, as an example, which this month is a year exactly from when it was launched, right? In the first 2 months was the most adopted app basically in history, right? So it just tells you by default that a market, it's ready for it, right? So I'm definitely a believer. Now, where we're heading, I think it's, and you have it, I think, in the, title before. I think it's, I don't think it's an evolution. I think it's a revolution, and I think it's coming. Like any revolution before us, whether it's the industrial one, in which people were displaced, from rural centers to a more industrial areas, or many jobs were actually displaced and transformed. I think that is where we're going. I think the how we very thoughtfully go through that revolution and all the impact that it'll have. I think to me that it's the key, right? I think that's where the Secretary of Labor was in San Francisco last week, and she talked about this being inevitable, through the way that we can regulate. And I actually, I think what he was trying to say basically is, if we regulate in a way that is responsible, this can be very positive. I don't believe it's inevitable. I believe it's inevitable that is going to disrupt, particularly the labor market. And I know there was, some optimistic, perspectives right before in how jobs will evolve, which they will, and I think that this technology will help people be more efficient. But I do believe the net of it, whether it's in 2 years, 5 years, will be, negative. I think that'll be a transformation, which I think it's the worry that I think governments have right now, to really understand what that is, because what it will do, I think it's, definitely will help on the, private sector, and will help us continue to create more shareholder value and economic growth, and leverage the scale and increase the productivity. But I think it potentially can also create a bigger gap in economic wealth, as a society. And I think that is what that's, to me, I think right now it's the key based on what I've seen.
It's interesting because listening to you, I'm thinking, we've tried to regulate, but I don't. Have we ever actually been able to regulate? I mean, digital. Just if you look at social media, have we been able to regulate, or because I think a lot of times, it's almost a joke when you see politicians trying to regulate tech, because they just have they ask the most ridiculous questions. They have no idea. So So I'm interested in how you see the possibility for regulation. And actually, I'm going to go back to something you said to me in a conversation that we had about the difference between America and Europe and Asia, which I thought was a very interesting comment. Is it possible to regulate, and how do you see ethics as well within this conversation?
Yeah, I think it depends on the area and the geographical area. I think we've been more or less successful. I think traditionally Europe has done a much better job on regulating related to technology, privacy, and for example, with GDPR on privacy in Europe, that was really the North Star for most companies to then develop products and services with those elements in mind to be able to not only operate in Europe, but in, in the US, Asia markets, et cetera, right? So, but what is very interesting about what is happening right now, if you look at the timeline in the last, few months, I think, I'm not sure if everybody here is aware, but I think it was June, there was President Biden, met with 7 key companies with, your Alphabet and, Meta, NVIDIA and others, and they voluntarily agree to a certain level of commitments to really prevent, some of the things that, potentially could be a risk if the technology is not being used correctly, right? And then at the end of it, I think it was a total of 15 companies that agreed to it. Fast forward 2 weeks ago, there was an executive order, by Biden in which focused on 3 things: safety assessment, a pretty broad research on the impact on the labor market, and then equity and civil rights, right? First time, really, ever.
Yeah, that's right.
That in the United States, there is regulation or the, particularly as an executive order, although in this area, both, it's a bipartisan belief that we need to do this, which, if anybody's aware of, American politics, we're never aligned on anything, bipartisanship. So it just tells you that I think there is now a really, a big push to make sure that this time around the government is a little bit more ahead. And in the U.S., that's part of the innovation, right? If you think about the way that the share economy ideas came in the early 2000s with Airbnb and Uber and Lyft and everything else that we know. There was really no regulation. That's how the capitalism works, right? You put it out there, you see how it works, and then the states are the ones that decide, or class action lawsuits.
Especially with disruptive technologies.
That's right. But I think to your question before, I think this time I believe that there is a significant effort to make sure that because it is a revolution. Not an evolution, and we're talking about not just enhancing things, but creating new realities, which depending on where the data is sourced, can really influence. And if you take it to another level, you ask yourself the question where democracies built accounting for this kind of technology and how potentially can influence people's hearts and minds, and where that take us. The answer is no. Right? So I think there is multiple aspects in which there is a push to make sure that this time there is a different ability to regulate. Now, are we going to be successful?
Yeah.
That's a different story, but we'll see.
But that's interesting because, I think we're also a global economy. We're also a global digital economy. So what happens then if the US and Europe are regulating and Asia takes a different approach? I think that's part of the conversation, right? In other words, if we over-regulate, or if we try to slow down, let's say, artificial intelligence, someone else is just going to do it anyway. Yeah,
100%. And I think, but I think that is where, no different with for example, with the patent world, right? You can have a patent in of something that is not patent in the U.S., for example, in a completely different country. But even though you can manufacture that in that country, you can't sell it in China, or you can't sell it in the U.S. or the U.K. because the patent is there. So I think it's going to be kind of the same approach. I think if you look at the key markets in the world that represent 80% of the global GDP, that's what you care about, right? So if you have an American company or a British company, a German company that is trying to actually operate in an economy in which these regulations have not been adopted, there could be sanctions. They could be. So I think we have a lot to learn, and see how the world react. And I think it's early on.
We'll see.
It's up to see. Yeah.
All right. So I mean, obviously, you have a very wide breadth of experience in retail in so many different areas, as I was just mentioning. Where do you see the customer in all this, and what is the relationship? How are companies, how are tech companies right now viewing the customer, and how should we as customers view our let's say our response and our interaction in terms of data privacy, you know, and so on the one hand, companies are obviously trying to target and micro-target us more and more, and yet we also have you know, we also have a role to play in that. So where is the customer in all this?
Yeah, I mean, my perspective is that, you know, you specifically for retail, right, which is, you know, what I do. I think it's, you always need to think about everything you do by putting the customer in the center, you know, and not necessarily, you know, what may give you short-term, the, you know, fastest growth in any specific, you know, product, you know, sell-through or whatever, right? And I think if you do it that way, the loyalty that you create with the customer, it's what ultimately help you sustain growth better. And we've seen, you know, that response, you know, over and over and over, right? Because also the customers today, they are, you know, a lot more informed. I mean, it's like, you know, something like 87% of customers that go to a, you know, a physical brick and mortar store have already done a research online. And when you look at after COVID in particular, the transformation of how the customer is shopping, you know, most customers, you know, are using all platforms at the same time, right? So I think, you know, if you think through how to create, you know, that kind of, you know, seamless experience, always focusing on the customer, I think ultimately, you know, is what makes a difference. And sometimes, you know, you can say that everybody, sounds such a simple, you know, thought, should do that. That's just not the case, right? And I think customers see that, right? So some people say, well, particularly after COVID, well, retail as a brick and mortar retail is dead. And I always said, well, bad retail is dead. But retail that focuses on, you know, the customer. And actually, you know, it's very interesting because I think in this environment that we're talking about, in which customers as human beings are going to have a lot of questions, you know, about, you know, the product that have all this technology. Being the one in retail that helps create, you know, confidence and somehow safety in how you use that, I think that is the role, particularly in technology retail. For other types of industries that might be different.
And it seems to me that there's one of the things that I see growing more and more is that tech companies there's a confluence of technology, and at the same time companies are essentially, you know, hardware, software, and services are kind of all merging into one. How do you see that? What is your perspective on how that works and how that plays into you know, just a marketing strategy in general?
Yeah, so even though, you know, I work for Apple, I'm here yes, giving you all my, you know, personal perspective, not representing the company. But in this case, I'm going to, you know, just use, you know, just the way that we think about that as a vehicle for incredible growth, you know, like when you think about the fact that Apple, and of course this is all, you know, public information, has 2 billion active users, right? Right now, or active devices, you know, users, maybe less if they have multiple ones. And you focus on, you know, how do you create, you know, you know, help the customer understand, you know, how can they better use their hardware by using your software and then positioning services, I think there is incredible growth that comes from that. I mean, every company is going to still want to acquire market share, right? In terms of hardware, in particular, sales of hardware. But if you actually have an ecosystem in which you're fully integrated and you can leverage the synergies of those new services, I think that on itself is going to give you, just incredible growth. It also allows you to not depend so much on, the sales of one product in particular, right? So, if you have a company that, phone is, 70% of their sales, and you don't try to diversify your lines of businesses with other things, but that are still part of your ecosystem, then you're going to put a lot of pressure in ensuring that your upgrade cycle and your opportunity to bring new customers, it's the key driver versus penetrating, with the customers that you have based on the seamless interaction of that ecosystem between hardware, software, and services.
And obviously integration between products.
100%.
I mean, yeah, which is what I love.
Yeah.
So I have one last question for you. And my last question is, what keeps you up at night? What are you worried about? And I want to know what you're worried about, but I also want to know what do you think is gonna protect us or save us or drive us away from that fear?
Not like I've been blessed, with having the opportunity to lead, in the companies that I've been working on, and the one thing, being here in Spain, I never felt this way, but after 24 years of living in the US as immigrant to that country, as gay man and Hispanic, you realize that you go from being here, which just pretty normalized of who you are, to feel like you're a minority, right? And my entire time, particularly the last 20 years, I've been very focused on ensuring that we have diversity initiatives, that we are protecting the equity of your employees, but also customers, right? And I think my biggest fear, and President Obama was talking about this a couple weeks ago, is that this could, if not used correctly, perpetuate the in some cases discrimination or biases that we have, just because also the data still today leans towards the traditional kind of stereotypes that we have always used and that we're trying to change, right? So that for me personally keeps me really awake at night, because there's so much work that it's been done in ensuring that is good representation in companies, that there's equity, in salaries between genders, et cetera, right? So if these will make us, go a little bit backwards, specifically on that, I'm worried about that, and I don't know that might be, when we were talking before about the right regulation, that will be one of the key areas that that'll be focused on. So for me personally, that's probably one of the things that keep me up at night the most.
And just while you were saying that, I was thinking that one of the things, and I don't think we talked about, I don't think we heard this in the panel, but one of the things I always think about is that we have all this data, and so AI is gathering all this data, and that data has bias, and yet AI is creating more data based on, and so what we have is essentially a pool that's getting muddier and muddier and muddier. And it's hard to extract. It's hard to extract that bias, or impossible to extract that bias out of it.
And there are already examples out there, in which whether it is facial recognition that failed, and had a member of the Black community identify as the suspect of something that actually wasn't, right? Or there was a black artist in New York last week that was using the technology to create images of Dakar, capital of Senegal, and everything that came back was these images of these like very arid, deserted, place which have nothing to do, right? Yeah. All based on the data that was sourced, right? So those are just two of a lot of examples, which is why I think part of the executive order there was this idea of equity and civil rights studies. Just how are we going to protect that? So my hope, even though hope is never a strategy, is that it'll be contemplated, but it's probably my biggest worry. Now, I'm an optimistic, and I've seen how technology really, really can enrich people's lives and hopefully leave this world better than we found it, right? So I'm really hoping that we will have the right approach and really maximize all these. So.
And I like that we've ended on a positive note.
Always.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you. So I'm gonna sign off. I just want to I want to thank all the support from IE, from the marketing department in particular. Thank you all for coming tonight. I hope this has been valuable. I also hope that and I think that this is going to be the start of a new journey for us in terms of bringing people in from outside to talk about these issues. But to finalize, I want to welcome Carla Semzo, who's the Vice Dean of the Business School, a dear friend and a driver of innovation at IE. So Carla, lead us out of this.
Thank you so much. Well, this is the part where nobody's listening and actually want to have a wine, right? So I will just take 3 minutes. And before I start, I want to ask, how many alumni, can you please raise your hands that we actually have in the room? Former students, great, no matter the program. How many current students do we actually have in the room? Awesome, both graduate and undergraduate. How many speakers do we actually, could you please raise your hands? Staff, great. And guests, attendees that come from different industries, living here in Madrid or abroad, that actually are interested about this topic. So first of all, I just want to give you a big round of applause and thank you so much for being here. Let's start with that. And as I said, I'm going to take just 3 minutes to wrap it up and open the bar, which I love. So it has been a very exciting day at our Marketing and Technology Summit. I hope your minds were expanded, ideas sparked, and perhaps I hope that you actually felt some wow moments along the way. As we close the curtains of this exciting event, I want to take a moment to reflect on the incredible journey we've undertaken today. And as I said, I promise I won't take long because we're all hungry and thirsty here. So since the sunset, we've dived into the dynamic intersection of marketing and technology where innovation meets strategy and creativity dances with data. We've had provoking discussions, eye-opening presentations, and in a couple of minutes, we will have a great opportunity to network while enjoying a beer, coffee, wine with us. In other words, we have witnessed the magic that happens when diverse perspectives collide. And that's a little bit of the type of experiences that we live here at IE, if you're a student, if you're a staff, if you're an alumni. Today, we explore how marketing and technology aren't just partners in crime. They're the dynamic duo shaping the future of business. We dissected trends, deflated myths, and celebrated successes. From the success cases shared by Leticia, thank you so much, to the enlightening round table discussion on the AI revolution in marketing, we've explored the frontiers of innovation and strategy. Thank you so much because all of your diverse perspectives on the challenges, opportunities, and ethical considerations, thank you so much, Kike, surrounding AI and marketing painted a vivid picture of the possibilities that lie ahead. And just when we thought it couldn't get any better, we had the privilege of an inspirational industry conversation with Kike Atienza. Thank you so much for coming all the way from California. Now, as we prepare to close the summit, let's remember the real journey, this real journey is just the beginning. Armed with insights, armed with connections now, we're asking you to take the challenges that lie ahead. So here's where your homework starts. As the business school pioneer in these topics here in Madrid, and as our dean, Lee Newman, said at the very beginning, we have the largest Martech or marketing programs portfolio, both for graduate, undergraduate, and executive education. We're also one of the epicenters of thought leadership around these topics, and that's why we wanted to create these conversations here today in Madrid. We're happy to share Martech educational insights combined with the most relevant know-how, top practitioners and business leaders that are experiencing right now this type of things and projects in their workplace. And I just want to take a moment to thank those that made this summit possible. Thank you, Brian, because I remember the day, it was like 6 months ago, and you said, hey, why don't we actually create a summit around this topic here in Madrid? As many of you know, we have 30 offices worldwide. We tend to talk about these topics all around the world, and sometimes, and thank you, Maria, and the Spain team, we forget to actually bring these topics here in our alma mater, in our headquarters in Madrid. I want to thank you once again. And as we step out of this room, one final piece of advice before we open the bar. Let's please remain curious. Let's embrace change, as Lee said at the beginning, and you too, Brian. And let's keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Let's take these learnings into our respective domains, catalyzing change and pushing the boundaries of what's possible. On behalf of IE Business School, I thank you for being part of this remarkable summit. May the spirit of today's discussions guide you in the future Martech projects that you will start on leading us from today. And the reason why I have this, and you might be asking, like, why is she drinking wine? We are not able yet. I just want to toast here, and here's to the convergence of marketing and technology, and to the exciting adventures that we all have ahead. Cheers, and let's enjoy the bar. Thank you.